Miss Dawn's class? It's Miss Lisa, your art teacher. Welcome back to my table of art. It's been some time since we've been together, and I miss you all very much. I hope you enjoyed your summer vacation, and if you were in summer camp, I hope you enjoyed summer camp and some of my art projects I sent home to you. Welcome back to school. It's a new year, and we have lots of new things to do in art. This is a great time of the year, one of my favorite times of the year. It's a little cool, so we get to wear our sweaters, but it's still warm enough that I could spend the whole day outside working and playing. I hope you're outside enjoying the weather, whether you're either sitting outside or you're walking outside or somebody's taking you out for a walk and you're enjoying the fresh air and just your surroundings and all that nature has to offer. I've spent the whole weekend out apple picking because this is the time of the year that the apples are at their best, and I love apples. They're tasty, they're crisp and crunchy, and they're also very good for you. They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. I don't know if that's true, and whether it's true or not, I still love apples. All kinds of apples. Do you know there's all different colors of apples? Did you know that? I know everybody thinks red right away. Just red, but there's not only red apples. You got green apples, which are your Granny Smith apples. They're the best ones for making pie. Oh my God, I love apple pie. So if anybody plans on making an apple pie, please remember your art teacher, Miss Lisa, because that's my absolute favorite dessert. Apple pie, homemade apple pie. So please save me a slice if your mom or you or anybody you know is baking an apple pie. Thank you. So we have our green apples and we also have our red apples. And we have apples that are mixed in colors. Sometimes there's yellow, sometimes there's green, sometimes there's all three colors. Hey, let's talk about our colors. It's been a while since we talked about our color theory. Remember, we have our primary colors, which is red, yellow, and blue. And what is so special about our red, yellow, and blue colors? I know. If we mix two of them together, we get secondary colors. And from there, we can go on and on and on. But if we didn't have red, yellow, or blue, we'd have no colors at all. Because those three colors make up all the colors in the rainbow. Red, yellow, and blue. I almost forgot my signing. Red, yellow, and blue. That's how long it's been since we've been together. I need to freshen up on my signs. So anyway, back to the apples. So I told you I went apple picking, so I brought some of my apples to share with you. I'm going to share with them virtually because you obviously can't taste them from where you are. I have a few in my little basket here, and if you notice, we have a few different colors. This one's red, but when I turn it around, what do you see? We see yellow, and if I turn it this way, I don't know if you can tell, but there's also green deep inside where the stem is. The stem is what it hangs onto the tree by. It's hanging on a branch from the stem. So this little apple here has three colors. There's actually probably more colors, different values of yellow, red, and green, but they're not as obvious as the red, yellow, and green that we see very easily to the naked eye. So I'm going to put my apple over here. And I thought, you know what? Being it's apple season, let's make a project about apples. So I found this really cute project, and I think you're going to like it. It's an apple that's already been eaten. And it's really cute. And when we're done, it's going to look something like this. Look at that. Did you notice there's something coming out of that apple? Look right over here. Whoops. Right over here. You know what that is? It's a worm. Yes, sometimes you find a worm in your apple. Yeah, that's right. You know, they've got to eat too, and they love apples as much as I do. So we're going to add a worm to our apple project. So we're going to need a few things to get started. So those of you that are home and watching me virtually from your computers or your TVs, don't worry. I've packed everything for you and your teacher's sending it home. You're going to get a large paper plate, and you're going to get a sheet of red construction paper. I only sent home red, but if you have a scrap box like I do, because I don't throw any of my papers away, you might find some scraps of yellow and green, like I did in my scrap box. That's why I've got these two. And when I use the yellow and green, we can add it to our apple to look somewhat like the apple I just showed you, the real apple that has lots of red and yellows and greens. So you see how I did it here? I added some yellow and green paper towards the edge. So we have 3 colors in our apple, but you're only going to get 1 sent home. If you have scrap paper in yellow and green, you can use that. I'm also sending you what looks like paper bag, the fabric that, or the paper that's used in a paper bag. It's brown craft paper. We're going to turn this into a worm, and you're going to get 2 little white dots, which I used with my hole puncher to make them, for the worm's eyes. And for the eyeballs, you'll need a black marker, just to put little dots on our white dots. And you're going to get a piece of brown construction paper for the stem and some green for your leaf. Again, these are from my scrap box. So I'm going to create a stem from this brown paper, and I'm going to create a leaf from this paper. Because sometimes when you pull the apple off of the tree, there's usually a stem with a leaf connected. Can you see that in the picture? Now notice, there's these little brown dots in the center of the apple. That's the apple core. What would you find in the core of an apple? Think about it. It has a lot to do with how the apple originated. What? Did you say apple seeds? If you said apple seeds, you are 100% right. Apple seeds are in the core of the apple. Those on our project are not apple seeds. We're going to use coffee beans because they look like an apple seed when we glue them onto the paper plate. So, there's only a few things that we're going to need to work our project. That's going to be a scissor. Here's my scissor safety. I'm not carrying it like this, that I'm going to hurt somebody. I'm enclosing the blade with my palm of my hand. So if I banged into anybody or banged into myself, I'm not going to poke myself with the point of this scissor because I'm using scissor safety. The black marker for the eyeballs. And then you're going to need glue. You can use liquid glue, you can use a stick glue, or you could pour some glue into a bowl and use a brush to brush on the glue. Whichever works easiest for you, works for me. Now, if we're ready, how about we get started? Okay? So we're going to start with our large paper plate. What I'd like you to do is just bend it in half. I don't want you to fold it because I don't want a crease in the apple. And what we're going to need to do is, you see the shape of the outside of the plate? It's like a crescent shape. What do you know that's the shape of a crescent? Think about it. Crescent. What comes to mind? If you look up at the night sky, there's this big white object up in the sky. What is it? Yes, it's the moon. The moon is up in the sky at night. Or actually, it's visible at night. But sometimes it's only like a quarter of the moon is illuminated. And that's called a crescent moon. It almost looks like the letter C. It's a crescent moon. And this is somewhat like a crescent moon. You see how the shape is? Now what we need to do is draw a crescent moon on the opposite side, because we're going to cut into the paper plate to create the apple that's already been eaten. So if you think you're really good, you could just cut right in. But if you think you might need a guiding line, let's draw a line on our paper plate. So I'm going to start right about, not quite the center, I'm going to go up a little bit and start right about here and make almost the letter C, which is similar to a crescent moon. Now I'm doing this backwards, so it may not be perfect, but you can see what I did there. If It's my guiding line, so I know where I'm going to cut into the paper plate. I'm going to grab my scissor now, and I'm going to cut along that line, keeping the two plate ends together. Again, I'm not folding it where I'll have a crease, I'm just bending it. And I begin cutting. If you need help, wait for somebody to come and help you. We don't have to finish this today. We have all week to finish till I see you again. Or you could try it on your own. This is how we learn, trial and error. And that's all good. So here we have it. This is what I'm left with. Doesn't that already look like an apple that's already been eaten? So this is the core of the apple. That's almost the only thing left. Next, I want you to get your construction paper, the red construction paper that I sent home with you or that you're using at school in your classroom. We're not going to use our scissor for this. We're going to learn our tearing. We're going to tear the paper, not cut it, because I don't want smooth edges. I want these raggedy edges that you get when you tear into paper. And I don't want them to be too big. I'd like them to be a little on the smaller size. So here I have a piece of construction paper with a straight edge because it's the edge of the paper. I don't want that. So try to tear into that paper. So here we have all ragged edges and here we have the smooth edges. We can use this piece so long as when we are overlapping and gluing our pieces together, we cover those straight edges. I don't want any straight edges in our project. So what we're going to do now is just tear and place them in our apple just to collect them. I'm going to show you as I do it. I'm going to get my helping hand to bring my computer screen down so you can watch me tear my paper and collect it on the paper plate. See how I'm just tearing? Here's a straight edge, so I'm going to kind of tear around it. I'll put that over here for now. Just get a whole bunch of pieces, tear them up. I don't want any straight edges. I'll put these in my scrap box. They won't go to waste. Ripping and tearing, ripping and tearing. No scissors today. Ripping and tearing, ripping and tearing. Now, because you only have red at home, I'm just going to demonstrate how to put the red paper on. I want to do the same thing that you're going to do. But for those of you that have yellow and green at home, you can add some yellow and green on your apple as we go along. Okay? That is completely up to you. Ripping and tearing. So what we're going to do when we're done is we're going to glue all these pieces to the edges of the apple. Why only the edges? Let's think. When you look at an apple and it has all those beautiful colors on the outside, are those beautiful colors on the inside as well? Absolutely not. The inside of the apple is more of a white or a beigey, creamy color. Some of them are a little tint of yellow. But basically, it's not the beautiful ripe red or the beautiful yellows or the beautiful greens. The apple juice and meat inside is a very light color. White, off-white, tint of yellow. Okay, I have quite a bit torn now. I think this might be enough. So let's bring my camera back up so I can continue talking with you. Okay. So I collected all my pieces here, and now I'm just going to empty them out on the table. So I'm going to get my glue stick now, or my liquid glue. I'm going to use the liquid glue. You know why? It's purple, and you can see what I'm doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to start layering our paper on the edge of our apple. Layering one on top of the other until we fill up the whole rim of the top of our apple. Do you see all the ridges on the top of the paper plate? That's going to be the rim of our apple, and that's where we're going to put all our red construction paper. And when you overlap the paper, you keep gluing each piece so each piece sticks nice. And this is the same idea of what you do when you make a collage. If you're making a collage, you're overlapping different materials on top of each other, whether it's all red construction paper, or if it's paper and fabric, or if it's found items, you're layering them one on top of the other to create a collage. So we're starting our collage, somewhat the idea of a collage, using our apple, my half-eaten apple. So I'm going to bring the screen down again so you can watch me glue my pieces and overlap my pieces one on top of the other until I fill up the whole top edge of my apple. Let's get my helping hand and I'll bring the screen down. All right, I'm going to start with this edge of the apple, and I'm going to take my purple glue and I'm going to just run it up against the edge here. And you could do whatever you want. I'm going to smear the glue over the top here. You see how I did that? This whole edge is filled with glue. And I'm going to start layering my pieces of red construction paper. You go over the edge of the apple, which is fine, one on top of the other until I fill up this whole top edge with the red construction paper. Now the first layer, which is the bottom layer, obviously has all the glue because it's on the bottom. But when I put paper on top, I'm going to have to add some more glue in order for them to stick as well. And I think one more would work. So now I'm just going to add a little layer of glue on top of that layer. And then I'll rub again. Rub all the glue in. Some have dried, some haven't. It takes a little time for everything to dry. And now I'm going to start overlapping the red paper on top of that. So I want to make sure that I'm really covering all the areas. It extends over the edge of the apple, which is okay. Makes it all the more interesting. This one stuck to my finger. My nose is running. Okay, I think one more might do it. Okay, so I have the top edge completely covered with red construction paper. So now let's start with the bottom edge of the apple, using this edge of the plate as our guide as to where the paper goes. Now another way you could do it is you could do one piece of paper at a time. Add some glue and stick it down. The only thing I don't like about this is there's glue on the back now, and if I'm working on my table, it might stick to my table. So I'm going to do it the way I did the first half, where I glued right across. I use my finger to rub the glue in, and then I just start picking up little scraps of red and gluing them down to the edge of the apple. I like it this way better, because then I could come back and add more paper. Remember, we don't want any straight edges. We want all torn edges. Gives it a more organic feeling. I like the natural, organic feeling of the torn edges. Did you like that word, organic? Me too. It's not stiff and fake like metallic or metal, cold metal. This is organic, warm, natural, real. So let's add a little more glue. I got some pieces sticking up. I'm going to add a couple more pieces onto this level. So I'm just dabbing some glue along the way. And I'll cover it up with some more pieces. See this? Here's one. Let's cover up this piece. And again, this is overlapping one on top of the other. We are overlapping. Okay, so here we have the top and the bottom of our apple. So it's already starting to look like a half-eaten apple, or almost completely eaten apple, I should say. So how about we get ready with our worm? I'm going to bring the screen up so you can see how I create my worm out of the brown craft paper I sent you. So right now it's flat and it's smooth, but we want to give it the illusion of a worm. So keeping it long, we're just going to take our hands and crunch inside the brown paper craft paper. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. You want to open it up and then crinkle it in this way. You want to crinkle it into a ball. However you want to do it, we want to create a crinkly, messy, rigid, zigzaggy worm. So look at that. It's just crumbled up into a crumpled piece of brown craft paper. And guess what? That's going to be your worm. So now he's going to need some eyes, but I'd like to glue him on first. Oh, piece fell off. Somebody didn't glue enough, and that'll happen. Okay, so he's going to come out of the side of my apple. So we're going to glue the brown craft paper on the back of the apple. So I'm going to lay my apple down on the table. There we go. And I'm going to add some of this liquid glue to mount my worm on the back of the plate, which is the back of the apple. And I'm going to press down. This could go flat, the back part, because nobody's going to see it. So we want to really stick that worm to the back of the plate, because he's going to be all crunched up in the front. Alrighty, so now watch when I turn it upside down. That's going to be the worm coming out. And you could rearrange his body too if you want, like kind of curve it a little bit. Alrighty, that's the worm. And I'm going to stick his eyes somewhere around here. And what did I tell you his eyes are going to be made of? White little dots. Now remember I said I'm not throwing anything away? I'm going to use this for my white eyes. I'm going to get my hole puncher. You have 2 white dots that I sent home with you. I'm going to use my paper plate for my 2 dots. And I'm going to work on this red paper so you can see my dots, because right now it's on a white table and you can't see. So you see those 2 little dots? Those are going to be the worm's eyes. But I want to give him some eyeballs, so here's where my black marker comes in. I'm going to put it right in the center of my dots. So now I have 2 white dots with 2 black centers, which are the eyeballs. And now to glue them on. So let's find 2 spots on my cardboard or my brown craft paper where I want my eyes to go. And I think I found right here works for me. So I'm going to put 2 little dots of glue. 1. And you don't need a lot for this because it's just a little white dot of paper being glued down. So can you see the amount of glue I put on that? Now I'm going to, now you're going to laugh at me, but watch this. I'm going to use a little bit of spit on my finger. Just a tiny bit. And it's going to help me pick up the dot and stick it on. What do you think of that? It just works. I don't know why, but it works. Okay? So it's starting to look more like an apple with a worm. So let's open up this again. Okay, so now remember, what's in the center of our apple? It's an apple core. So we're going to put the apple seeds, our coffee beans, in the center. But before we do that, we need to do one other thing. We need to make the stem with the leaf. So you have a brown piece of construction paper that I sent home to you. I'm using a piece of scrap paper from my scrap box. So I'll make a stem out of this. You don't have to cut. I've already cut mine. I've already cut it for you. So I have a stem, and I have this little piece of green scrap paper from my scrap box, and I'll make my leaf. And I believe I sent you home a pre-cut leaf, but if not, how's that for a leaf? Look at the shape. And I'm going to glue it right to the stem. I'm going to grab my glue, put a little bit of glue on the brown stem, just a little bit. I don't need a lot. And I'm just going to stick the stem on stick the leaf onto the stem. Okay? And now, like I did with the worm On the back of the plate, I'm going to glue the stem with the leaf sticking up. So I go right to the edge and put some glue. And now I'm going to put my stem on. See that? So there's my apple stem with my apple leaf and my worm. So we have one thing left, and that's our coffee beans. You have no idea how good these coffee beans smell. It's driving me crazy. I'm ready to go and get a cup of coffee, but not until I'm done with you, because these coffee beans smell delicious. So let me get my coffee beans. I put them all in a little bowl. See that? And I sent some coffee beans home with you as well. So for the coffee beans, this is what we're going to do. Watch. I'm going to take our glue again, and we're going to make some dots in the center, because the apple core has the seeds in the center of the apple. So imagine if this apple went all the way around, you'd have apple seeds all the way around the apple. And I'm going to take the flat end of my coffee bean and place it down onto the apple plate. See, if a coffee bean has a curved top and a flat bottom. So we're going to put the flat bottom onto the dot of glue and let them stick. I love this project. I think it's absolutely adorable. I think the funny worm, him coming out, the surprised look on his face is funny. I think this is a perfect project for this time of the year, because it's apple picking season, because right now is when all the apples are ready to be picked and harvested from the trees. So, voila, here is your eaten apple for the apple season. Well, I hope you enjoy this project. There's colors in here. You could add your yellows and your greens. We have our red, which is what? It is a primary color. There's something else about the color red that's different from the color green. The red color is a warm color. Red, yellow, and orange are warm colors. You think about the sun. What colors would you see in the sun? You would see red, orange, and yellow. And they're warm colors. If I put the green and yellow on my apple to make it look like it's getting riper, the green is a cool color. What are the other two cool colors? Can you guess? We have green, we have blue, and we have purple. Those are the three cool colors. And we'll touch on that some more throughout the year, so don't worry if you can't remember it. I will continually go over your colors with you, your warm, your cool, your primary, and your secondary colors. So boys and girls, always remember that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, and they taste pretty good too. That's it for today. I'll see you guys next week. Take your time with this project. It's a lot of fun. Be good. Always keep art in your life. Don't forget Miss Lisa, because I have not forgotten any of you. Have a great day. Have a great week. Ciao for now. This is Miss Lisa saying goodbye. Bye-bye, kids. See you next week.